Okay. So eukaryotic cells have a nucleus, Kyle.
A prokaryotic cell has less
Material inside. So let's go in the way of organelles. So when you look at this animal cell, you see there are a lot of components inside of these animal cells and inside of plant cells as well that the gentleman drew for us several weeks ago. All right, now we'll go Emma and then Rick. Okay, so prokaryotic cells lack a nucleus. Prokaryotic cells lack a lot of the organelles that you find in eukaryotic cells.
I was going to say that. They don't have a mitochondria.
They do not, although some would propose that the mitochondrion began as a prokaryotic cell. Right? And we've talked a little bit about that. Lydia.
Do prokaryotic cells have like 8 organelles or something?
Do they have what?
8 organelles.
Well, they have prokaryotic cells. They still have ribosomes, and ribosomes are an organelle. You could argue that the nucleoid, where all of that genetic material is concentrated, is an organelle. If you wanted to, they still have a plasma membrane, and that's pretty much it. I mean, well, you find no, that's not true, because you find flagella on prokaryotic cells, and flagella are certainly organelles, which we'll talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Should we write that down?
We'll get. I mean, if you want to, you can write it down now, but we're gonna get there because it's. Look at this. It's right here. Eukaryotic cells have them as well. The machinery is a little bit different. Focus. Okay, so those are some of the differences between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. And so now we have a responsibility, and now we have to go through and we need to figure out what are these organelles doing, because both prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells are living organisms, right? Right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about some of the characteristics of living organisms several times in this class. What do living organisms do that non-living things do not do? They do live, but how do we define that, Michelle?
Just definition or characteristics?
Just
They're all
characteristics.
alive.
Like
Respond to stimuli, right? That's one thing living things do that non-living things do not do. Emma, then Katie.
Receive sustenance.
Receive sustenance. So let's say this. They eat and metabolize. Okay? Let's do that, Katie. They respirate. They take materials, they break them down chemically. Rick.
They reproduce.
They do reproduce. They make copies of themselves. Good. Any other things that living organisms do that non-living things do not do? Katie.
Process energy.
Process energy. Kyle. They do.
That's a good answer.
Okay? So.
That's a good answer, bro.
Alright.
I would do so good on that show.
Everyone does that.
So.
I would, Nicholas.
So. Both prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells carry out all of those characteristics of life. So the question is, what do these organelles provide for eukaryotic cells if they're not just providing for them the ability to live, right? They must be living in a truly unique way. Emma.
I feel like a class family feud where it's like bio-related though.
And that's how we review for an exam.
I
We
would
like
so not.
and we learn and we have fun and
I like that idea.
Steve Harvey.
Make him wear a mustache?
Yeah. He already has
What about if I just shave everything but the mustache?
No.
Alright.
Steve
Okay.
Harvey.
Okay. So we're going to go through almost organelle by organelle, and we're going to talk about what the organelle does and what eukaryotes can do that prokaryotes cannot do because they lack those organelles.
Okay, so
Alright?
prokaryote and
Eukaryote. Okay? So let's start right in the middle. Let's start right here with the nucleus. This is in my way. Okay?
Do you suggest we draw?
It's not in your way.
It's in the way of like
Yeah, but if Katie and Carrie needed to leave in the event of a fire, they could go out those doors and they'd never have to worry about
What
going
if
this
those
way.
are
What if they
not
have to go through that? They have to go like.
What if there's
What if they can't open for some odd reason?
like
What
there's
if
a
they have to
Bust
go-
What if the
blast
fire's
out.
on
like
the
there's a
side?
gr-
What if they have to go
You
like.
know,
the fire
towards the
sitting on the
fire.
concrete? That doesn't make any sense. Okay.
Intellectual.
All right. Shh. Okay. So we've got the nucleus that we find in eukaryotic cells that we do not find in prokaryotic cells. What the nucleus does for eukaryotic cells that it can't do for prokaryotic cells because it's not there is it separates. I don't think that's right. Separates.
Yeah.
Separates transcription from translation. Okay, and we'll talk in next week, very likely, about these processes in great detail. Yeah.
Do you want us to know all the? Okay. If we're drawing it up, would it be better to write just nucleus or to do all the like nuclear envelope and all those things too? Do we need to know it?
I would just write nucleus at this point
Okay.
because we'll focus in on the nuclear envelope in a minute. Now it's technically the nuclear envelope that separates these processes because that's what creates the barrier. But if you just do nuclear, I mean that's what I underlined.
What's transcription?
Transcription is when you take DNA and you write it into RNA. And then translation is when you take RNA and translate it into protein. Okay? Alright. Okay, so that's the nucleus. Okay, that's what the nucleus does for eukaryotic cells. It doesn't do that for prokaryotic cells because they don't have a nucleus. Right? Right? You could ask, like, what does Rick Roberts do for SCCS? And nothing, because Rick Roberts is here, right? Contributing to this community. What does Rick Roberts do? Is that what we're asking? Oh, that's not true.
Wait, what you said?
He's a bastion of stability.
Sebastian?
Bastion.
Wait, what'd you say?
Okay. Anyways.
Oh, I know
Okay.
a lot of things.
All right. Ribosomes. Okay. Ribosomes, true or false, are in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. True. Okay. So we don't need to worry about what ribosomes do for eukaryotic cells to make them different than prokaryotic cells because we find ribosomes in both. But what they do is they translate proteins. Okay, well they translate RNA into protein. Okay? Ribosomes translate RNA into protein. Okay, in both prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Okay? What do ribosomes do?
Translate RNA into protein.
That's true. In what types of cells?
Setup.
All types of cells. All types of cells. Okay. Alright. Now, oh boy. Now we need to do what's called the endomembrane system. Endomembrane system. Okay? And I want you to write that down. And then I want you to write down all of the organelles that are part of it. I'm not going to because I don't want to. But you will because you want to. Okay? And I'm going to go in and I'm going to write a letter next to every organelle that's part of the endomembrane system.
Can it be the same letter?
Did I say letter? I'm going to write a number.
Can you write one number?
One number?
Like 1, 2.
Yeah, I'll do 7. I'm going to label them all with a...
Why did
with
you
a number
say
7.
1, 2?
No, I don't want to. So, here's one part of the endomembrane
Does it
system.
matter what number they are?
The nuclear envelope. No, but I'm going to choose 7. The endoplasmic reticulum. Both the smooth
Wait, so
and the rough. Yes, ma'am.
just the nuclear envelope or the entire nucleus?
Just the nuclear envelope. Yeah,
You did
that's a
two
great question.
sevens.
No, I know. I'm labeling them all with a 7.
Wait,
Would you
I
prefer an
thought one number-
asterisk?
I thought
No, just
Never
keep
mind.
going.
Oh, I'm going with 7
the
because it's
endoplasmic reticulum.
the Golgi Apparatus.
My favorite.
sometimes referred to as the Golgi Body, Trinity.
So these are all in the wherever with the
Endomembrane system. Yep, so look, watch this. Watch this.
Is that an 8?
7.
Everywhere you find a 7 is part of the endomembrane system. What is the root endo mean? We're gonna work this out because Trinity said,
Inside.
"What is this? What does endo mean?" It means within or inside. What is membrane?
the membrane.
It's a in cells a membrane is a lipid bilayer, right? But this is where it gets kind of fun because part of the endomembrane system, look at this. Boom! Plasma membrane, which actually is not inside the cell, but it's part of this process. Anyways, Emma. Sorry, it's been a long time. And so I just I'm on fire. You know, like I'm feeling it.
We're feeling it too.
Do you think that my
Yeah, run.
shh, do you think that my friendly nature is what makes you guys pay so little attention to me?
No.
And just have all these side
No,
conversations?
no.
So they
Or is it
just?
is it
It's
genetics?
just Monday.
Is it nurture?
No, because I like this every day.
Yeah.
Alright,
I
Emma.
don't like this.
Emma.
I'm the problem.
No, you guys told me that some of these people don't talk at all.
I don't
No, I don't.
Because she's scared.
I don't like Mr. Lee's class.
Whoa.
I don't like his
Okay, shh.
I'm sorry.
Endo.
Oh,
Alright,
shit.
Emma.
You make the same number of amount of things in the endomembrane system.
What if it is?
What'd you get?
Is it?
You don't do this.
What if it is? Okay.
He's kidding.
All right. Shh. Also part of the endomembrane system.
There's a lot.
It looks like it's outside.
What do you mean?
Also part of the endomembrane system. Peroxisome.
Are we gonna talk about what each one does?
Peroxide.
We will in a moment. Yes. Yep. And then there's one that is not drawn, but will be our 7th structure. So I'm gonna put another 7 here, and I'm gonna put vesicle. Is it 1S?
Oh, I know what that is.
What? I think.
I think so too. But it might be 2.
The same.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Phonetics, right? Okay? And so, Emma, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Wow.
Whoa!
Where's 8?
Whoa! There isn't an 8
He said
because
They're all 7.
they're all 7s. And so,
He just broke the barrier
Here.
of the whole number system.
endomembrane system, it's basically a continuous, and I'm going to put that in continuous, and I'm going to put that in quotation marks because then it's like, it's continuous, but they're not all physically attached. Continuous system, whoa, that should be an S. I made it a C. I'm sorry. That's terrible. Continuous system, I said fraud?
Fraud.
Frog?
Separates transcription fraud.
It says fraud, not fraud.
Oh.
Continuous system
Petty.
of membranes.
So what does it do?
What does it do? That's a wonderful question.
Wait, is that the definition of the
It is. That is the definition of the
I like that.
endomembrane system. It is a continuous system of membranes. And so when you hear continuous, I don't know if you think that they're all physically attached, because if you do, don't. Okay? But they are all connected by these. The vesicles, these transfer material and membrane among the parts of the endomembrane system.
Can We call that
It's like the little
EMS.
freeways.
Oh, cool.
You're ahead of the game.
Oh, Rick. Gosh, we are so blessed.
Uh-huh.
We are so blessed. All right. All right. This is really great stuff. So they are continuous. So if you wanted to get material from the endoplasmic reticulum to the Golgi apparatus, here let me go on this side. If you wanted to get material from the endoplasmic reticulum to the Golgi apparatus, look at this. They are not physically attached. Do you see this?
Yeah.
We've got a disconnect. They are disconnected. Okay? If you wanted to get material from the endomembrane or from the endoplasmic reticulum to the Golgi apparatus, how would you do it?
You hop on the wall.
You'd use a vesicle. So some membrane would bud off of the endoplasmic reticulum, form a vesicle that would then travel to and fuse with the membrane of the Golgi body,
It's like
or the Golgi apparatus.
14 through 5
Yeah, sort of. Except for it's like that, but then say if you were going from your house down to Dodger Stadium to watch them lose for the second year in a row in the World Series and have your dreams crushed. Anyways, it would be like a part of your house bubbled off to form your car, and then when you got to Dodger Stadium, your car fused with the stadium and became part of it and emptied you into the stadium.
It was like,
And then when it was time for you to leave, part of the stadium would bubble around you, would then transport you back to your house, and that car would again fuse with your house and release you inside.
So do you have part of your stadium when you release back
this
to
would
your
be
house?
top.
Well, they're all continuous. They're all built out of the same membrane. That's the beauty of it. So yes, but the membrane they're all lipid bilayers, and they're all phospholipid bilayers, and so they're all built out of the same material. So yes, yeah,
So I'm confused. Is the vesicle the path you take, or is it the bubble itself?
it's the bubble.
That gets
Yeah, we'll talk about the path,
Okay.
but it's the bubble. It's the membrane bubble. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So here is singular, and then this is a verb for a plural word. Gosh, that is, okay, now it's fixed. Vesicles transfer material.
No, those are spelling. Those are.
Yeah, but this is
I forgot
spelling,
about that.
this is grammar, and I think we agreed that if we were going to count that, then spelling and grammar are going to count on your exams.
I'm not saying that.
Okay, so yeah, so let's ease up on the spelling and grammar, okay? All right. Okay.
Bro, Milo,
So
made Milo write like a essay because like he did something wrong. He's like, you have to write a paper on why this is wrong. He wrote it all in Spanish.
okay. All right. So we need to talk about a couple. Oh, Katie, were you gonna ask what some of these components do?
No, I was gonna ask. There's I thought there were only 6 on the board.
How are there 7?
Oh,
Vesicles.
Yeah, I wrote one over here. Did you get that one?
What? Okay,
There's
so
definitely
vesicles
some.
aren't on the map.
They aren't on the map, but they are certainly part of the endomembrane system. Yep. Okay. All right. Shh. Shh. Okay. So now we need. I know I know Trinity. I know who's to blame. You don't have to tell me. Okay. I mean, it all comes back to me though. It's because
it's always Nick's fault.
it's because I don't push you all hard enough.
What? No, yeah.
I'm too easy on you, Kyle. But we're gonna change that. Don't you worry.
Can you say what the EMS was again?
The endomembrane system.
Boy.
Oh shoot, what's that lunge?
It's impressive. Right?
That was impressive.
You know, so I've been basically this size for, I don't know, 15 years. And one time I was coming out of a Walmart, and I was like, I'm gonna long jump. So I jumped over one of those medians. It was out of a Walmart. It was in Ohio. But I jumped over, and so the air's lighter. I'm sure you can jump farther in Ohio. And I jumped over the median, and I just cleared it. It was like epic. And like a guy my size, you're just not expecting that. And so this guy was walking by, and his mouth fell open. Like he couldn't even contain himself. kid's just, his mouth fell open. He looked, this was just some random dude in Ohio outside of the Walmart that I came out. And his mouth fell open, and I was like, listen, no joke. So my wife was with me, and everything I don't know. Everything I do embarrasses my wife, and I don't do it intentionally. It just happens.
Wait, do you need one of those things that like sticks out of the holes?
No, it was like one of these things with like a planter bed, but then would separate like a line of cars. So it was like, you know, this one here, but it was a good like 6 feet across. And I just totally cleared it, and this guy, his mouth fell open, and I was like, you know, that's right. and then he couldn't even move. And then I just nonchalantly continued walking to my car, leaving him just dumbfounded. Yeah. All right. Okay, so we talked about this like I couldn't grow a beard then. I was clean shaven. Anyways, so we talked about this 3 weeks ago, the difference between the rough endoplasmic reticulum and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. What is it again that's attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum to make it rough? I saw Kyle's hand first. The ribosomes. And what are the ribosomes doing again? Somebody remind me, please. Rick?
Shoot. No, I got it. They translate RNA.
They are translating RNA into protein. So what on earth are they doing attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum? It's a wonderful question, but when you know what the rough endoplasmic reticulum does, it makes total sense. The rough endoplasmic reticulum processes and ships. What do you think the rough endoplasmic reticulum processes and ships? What's being translated? Proteins. Oh my goodness. The rough endoplasmic reticulum processes and ships proteins. So any protein that doesn't so some proteins, as soon as they're translated, they're active. They're active and they're ready to go, and they usually operate inside of, oh my gosh. Oh, they usually operate
That's a snake right there.
inside of the cytosol. But any protein that needs to be processed and or shipped has to end up inside of the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Isa.
Is the rough and smooth used in the endomembrane?
They're both part of the endoplasmic reticulum. They're both part of the endomembrane system. The smooth ER does not have ribosomes attached to it, meaning it's not going to participate in what? In the processing and the shipping of proteins, right? There aren't ribosomes attached to it. It isn't being fed proteins. So here's what the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, save your question, Emma. Okay, so the smooth endoplasmic reticulum produces lipids, and we've talked a great deal about lipids, but again, knowledge has a half-life. You got to refeed it. Okay, you got to feed it.
Wait, so lipids are an oil, huh?
They are. Or oil, it would be better to say oils are a lipid. So produces lipids and then metabolizes carbs and toxins. And then finally stores calcium ions. Oh, you have enough room. You got to find it.
Gotta dig deep, Kyle.
And so, what organ in our body works the hardest at detoxifying what you put into your body? Emma. The liver. So liver cells, which organelle do you think is unusually large in liver cells when compared to other cells in your body? Emma. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum, because one of its functions is to metabolize toxins, and the liver's role is to metabolize toxins that you put into your body, and liver cells have an unusually large, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So do muscle cells, but that's because it also stores calcium, and we'll get there and how that all connects in a little bit. Emma, back to your question, and then Isa.
So in each cell, is there like a specific location
Yeah, so the endoplasmic reticulum is physically connected to the nuclear envelope. So wherever, and you can see that right here, here's the nuclear envelope, and then there's actually a physical connection with the endoplasmic reticulum. So the endoplasmic reticulum is attached to the nucleus. Wherever the nucleus is, that's where your endoplasmic reticulum is. All right. Right. Isn't this awesome? So you're like, okay, so we already talked about this. If you want to get material from the endoplasmic reticulum to the Golgi apparatus, you got to send a vesicle, like something bubbling off of your house, traveling you down to Dodger Stadium, fusing with the stadium, allowing you to watch the Dodgers disappoint year after year, and then you fuse, you just end up getting pulled back into a bubble and then transferred back to the house. So Golgi apparatus, if something's traveling from the endoplasmic reticulum to the Golgi body, what on earth is that Golgi body doing? What is its function?
I don't know. You're gonna tell us though.
I am. And it's going to be final processing and shipping of proteins. And proteins, etc. It's mostly proteins, but also the lipids that are being made by the smooth endoplasmic reticulum go to the Golgi body for final processing and shipping. And we'll get into this when we talk about the cell membrane. It's a lipid bilayer. And what type of lipid? It's a phospholipid. And those phospholipids are generated in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, but it's not that simple. Those phospholipids oftentimes have sugars attached to them, or have proteins attached to them, or have other complicated organic molecules attached to them. Where do you think that happens? What's doing the final processing and shipping of materials? Rick,
The Golgi.
the Golgi apparatus. That's what's attaching those extra bits of flavor onto those materials. So in the endoplasmic reticulum, the protein processing is like in the folding of the protein. But if that protein needs to be clipped down or needs to have something attached to it, that's all happening here in the final processing and shipping of those proteins. Isa. Okay. Okay, any questions about the endoplasmic reticulum or the nucleus or ribosomes?
Oh, yes.
Okay, Isa.
This is chapter 6. So
This is chapter 6.
So are we gonna be expected to know everything? All this?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I have to set the bar. I don't have to set the bar high. The bar's already been set high. I have to help you get there incrementally.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta take some cups.
Emma.
Okay, so you said the liver has a larger smooth ER.
Yes.
Is that like compared to other cells?
Yes.
Or, okay, so not compared to the rough ER in the cell?
Oh, it might be bigger than the rough ER in liver cells, but I doubt it. There's still an enormous amount of protein production, but in comparison to other cells in your body. Yeah, liver cells and muscle cells have an unusually large smooth ER, and for muscle cells it's because you've got a lot of calcium storage, and then in liver cells it's because you have a lot of metabolism. All right? Okay. All right, one last thing I just want to tell you about the endomembrane system, then we're going to take a bit of a lecture break. Lysosomes and peroxisomes, these are basically just membrane-bound, I mean, you could call them vacuoles, or you could call them vesicles, but they're membrane-bound organelles that are just full of digestive enzymes, okay? And so lysosomes and peroxisomes, they're full of digestive enzymes that are breaking materials down. Peroxisomes, these are breaking down mostly reactive oxygen elements that are made through metabolism. Lysosomes, they're cleaning things up. They're getting rid of proteins that have run their course and are no longer of use to the cell. Just chew those suckers up, clean them up, recycle them. All right? So both lysosomes and peroxisomes you could call them metabolic vesicles. You wrote everything I said? That's fine. So yours is an explanation for what a metabolic vesicle is. Yeah, but would you know what that means?
Full of digestive enzymes, proteins, so that's what they have. That's what they're full of.
Yes. All right. So what can eukaryotic cells do because they have mitochondria and or chloroplasts that prokaryotic cells cannot do? Emma.
Produce a larger amount of energy.
Oh, they certainly can. So let's say this. Produce energy more efficiently. And let's say process energy more efficiently, because you can't actually produce energy, right? That's against the first law of thermodynamics. But they process energy much more efficiently than prokaryotic cells do. Trinity. What's the difference? The absence of a nucleus and membrane bound. Yes. Yeah, so they can process.
I was scared for a weapon.
So they can process and store energy much more efficiently than prokaryotic cells can. So prokaryotic cells, so the mitochondrion, and we'll talk about this, we'll have an entire chapter on cellular respiration. That's why we're not talking about these a great deal. Plus we'll have an entire chapter on photosynthesis. Don't you worry, we'll get there, okay? But what you'll find when we get there is that the mitochondrion allows you to get more energy out of every individual food molecule as long as you have enough oxygen to make that happen. Okay? As long as you have enough oxygen to make it happen, the mitochondrion allows you to pull more energy out of your food molecule. However, there are bacteria that can do something similar, but the ability to partition it in a particular space allows the cell to control how much energy is produced or how much energy is processed and how much energy is stored. Okay, so eukaryotic cells are far more efficient than prokaryotic cells are. Far more efficient. Does that what?
So does that mean like they have more like capability? So like we were saying like they can last longer.
Well, they can. Eukaryotic cells can live a lot longer than an individual prokaryotic cell. They can grow to be a lot larger, and they can differentiate their what they actually do. So you could have eukaryotic cells. So if you take one of our liver cells and one of our neurons, and you realize that genetically they are identical, maybe. Neurons get a little bit interesting. Anyways, genetically, they are identical, and yet they are doing completely different tasks. You can't have that happen in a prokaryotic cell. Not in anywhere near the same way, because you are far less efficient, which means you're going to die sooner, you can't grow to be as large, and you can't really differentiate your tasks.
So eukaryotic cell is more special.
By the way, that's not like a general rule, like that there's a correlation between size and longevity. Actually, there is, but it's usually the reverse. Anyways, sorry. No, that's not true. It's usually that way. The larger you get, the longer you live, at least as far as mammals and birds are concerned.
Like big dogs.
Well, I feel like there's a
Dogs are a little bit different. So that's in the same species. It tends to be the opposite. So within a species, the larger you are, the shorter you live typically. But for all species.
So like a turtle and a human.
Well, turtles, you can't compare turtles to humans because turtles, their metabolic rate is so low. That's why they live so long. Yeah, I mean, a turtle might be able to live forever. I mean,
actually,
no, not forever, but I mean, it'll live.
Gave it like food and didn't kill it.
I mean, it would no doubt, you could take a tortoise and you could, I mean, here's the thing. We have alligator snapping turtles that have musket balls lodged in them from the Civil War. I'm not kidding. Like, there are wild alligator snapping turtles.
No, but they're like
that have musket balls in them from the Civil War.
What's an
And I don't know if you know,
alligator
oh, it's the most awesome freshwater turtle on Earth. Huge, huge freshwater turtle, incredible biting power. Sure, during our break.
And it
And
has
so-
Civil War.
Yeah, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but the Civil War was like almost 160 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not
That's the
long.
Uguay
They
job.
can live so long.
Yeah, I mean that's just
that long.
that's just a drop in the bucket for how long a tortoise or a turtle can live. Isa, and then Tori, and then Trinity.
We gotta clear some stuff up.
Okay, we gotta clear some stuff up. Is this about Uncle Bob?
No,
Or
no.
Theo?
I have an
Yeah.
Uncle Bob.
I don't.
I had an Uncle Bob, but he died.
I think everyone has an uncle.
I didn't know.
All my uncles have left.
You probably haven't met them.
I have an uncle.
So, eukaryotics.
Yes.
That's plant and animal.
Yes, and fungal cells.
Okay.
And there are a number of those are like the big three: plant, animal, and fungal cells are eukaryotic. And then there's like the miscellaneous, which there are most of them are in that miscellaneous category are single-celled eukaryotic forms,
Okay. and
like
what about-
diatoms, dinoflagellates.
Is that gonna be on the test? Any of that single cell?
No,
Okay,
we're not yet. It'll be on the AP exam though. We'll get there. We have to go through. We'll do our taxonomy like in March probably.
Okay. And then
Gosh, we've
prokaryotic.
already learned so much, guys, and it is only November.
Yeah.
We are
So
big
prokaryotic
brained.
is what? What's prokaryotic? What kind of?
Just bacteria.
Just bacteria?
Yep.
That's why it's so small.
Yeah, but in terms of the number of species, there are more species of prokaryotes than there are eukaryotes.
So,
Likely, not that have been identified, but
so bacteria are living.
yes.
So why don't they? Why is their cell so like simple?
It's an excellent question. And the answer to that is because you don't need a complex cell to be living. You need a complex cell to be multicellular.
What do you mean? Oh, is bacteria single cell?
Mhm.
It
It's
is.
just a little thing.
So one bacteria is just one cell.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, but
Just like-
if you're thinking about like pathogens, like a bacteria that's gonna make you sick, you're gonna be overwhelmed by tens of millions of individuals. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, Tori, and then
10 million
Trinity.
of them.
Okay, so I just have more of a comment. So I was driving and I drove past my neighbor, like I don't know, somewhere, and they had their yard was like fenced in, and they had a huge turtle, like really big, like half the size of the tree. Like he was a big turtle, and I thought it was a rock at first, and I was like, whoa, and then it was a turtle because I saw it move, and it was just I didn't know turtles could get that big.
Oh yeah. So the Galapagos tortoises are enormous. I mean
Define enormous.
they're like
My neighbor's
probably
house,
over
like,
1,000
it
pounds.
broke through the
Oh my gosh.
I'd have to look up the actual size. And then there are leatherback sea turtles that are well over 1,000 pounds, sometimes 2,000.
1,000 pounds.
Yeah. All right,
Well,
Trinity.
that's like not. That's like.
Hey, you guys are being rude to Trinity.
Anyway.
You gals. You're gals because it's not the gentleman in here.
That's right.
You gals are being rude to Trinity.
Dude, what is this ratio?
Trinity, what you got for us?
Okay.
Okay.
How long do ants live?
How long do ants live? Like an individual worker ant? It varies among species, but it is very unusual for a worker ant to live longer than 3 or 4 months. Very unusual. The queen can live for decades.
I thought they like died like a day because you know you just smash them over.
You don't know how long they've been alive before.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. For most species, the queen can live for decades. The individual workers, months at the most. Usually more like weeks. So, like, if you get ants for an ant farm,
Sorry.
it's illegal in the United States to sell queens and distribute queens. I'm not saying you can't get them. I'm just saying it's illegal.
What's it gonna do?
Well, then you could introduce colonies all over, like wherever you wanted to. It's mainly to control the spread of ant species to where they should not be. And so the workers, so they'll send you workers, and they're only going to live for a couple of weeks, and they can't reproduce. So like even if you let them go in your backyard, they're just going to die.
Isn't it like illegal ants? So why do they
Well, it's easy to kill an individual ant. It's not easy to eliminate an entire colony, and especially if if it takes root and you get like the colony actually starts to multiply, the queen produces more queens. They go out and establish.
So you can
new
just kill
colonies.
the queen and then kill it.
Yes. Yeah. Emma.
A little bit off topic. But you know when giraffes give birth, they're like, they stand up so they're like 5 feet. So the baby has to drop like 5 feet. They land like boom. It's not like, does the baby land on his feet or does it like experience head trauma?
Or maybe the mom like squat.
I know.
It's like with a push up real quick.
Sorry, just take Palmer out.
I know, actually this is serious. Actually.
They don't land on their feet. They're not like cats.
Wait, but you drop like
they-
5 feet?
Yeah, but they probably. By reflex, when you fall, you protect your head, right? Unless you're just like completely splayed out
They
by
practice land on
reflex.
them,
So I'm sure they, by reflex, protect their head, and they probably fold up in midair, which is what
And that's why their knees are
people tend to do when you fall. Is you fold up and you protect the head. So they probably land mainly on their sides. Okay.
Was that good?
Possibly, but
They break their bones.
do they break their?
Well,
So-
at that point they don't have any bones because they just came out of like.
Oh, they have bones, but their bones are still in the process of ossifying. It's very difficult to break your bones when they're still predominantly cartilage.
Yeah,
So when- it's very unusual.
Oh, like toddlers.
Yes. Yeah, because now some of their bones have been fully ossified. You know, our collarbone is the last bone to fully ossify, and it doesn't ossify until you're well into your 20s.
Oh.
Yeah. But it doesn't really keep you from breaking it as a teenager. Yeah. All right. So, last two things we need to talk about of eukaryotic cells, and then we're going to do a break and we'll have story time. Okay? It just.
It's been a rough day. Hey, we haven't been in school. We haven't
I know.
sit down
I
for
know.
this long.
I know, and I really do. I really do think I'm to blame.
Dr. Engel, I be sleeping.
How are you?
I'm not good.
Okay.
Don't be clear.
I'm the coach, not a player.
Oh shoot. So now I put
Okay. All right. Okay. The cytoskeleton. The root cyto means cell. Skeleton means like a structural piece.
And this is a part of the endomembrane system.
No, this is not. This is completely separate. Like mitochondria, chloroplast, they are not part of the endomembrane system. We dealt with those and we said it allows them to process and store energy much more efficiently.
And this is only in eukaryotic cells.
Well, no, this right here. No, this is a eukaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cells do have one type of cytoskeletal element that's similar to a microfilament, but their cytoskeleton is far less complex than a eukaryotic cytoskeleton.
Yes.
Trinity.
What happened to the other cell we were put on? It's on the other slide.
This one?
Why did you change it back?
Well, that's a vacuole.
Yeah, it's the central vacuole.
Why did you change it back?
It's a
Which the central vacuole,
water.
also part of the endomembrane system.
Should I write it down?
If you want to. Okay, but cytoskeleton. So we've got microfilaments. These support the plasma membrane.
That's what the microfilaments do.
Yep. And that's all we're going to talk about them doing right now. Actually, no, I'll give you one more. Microfilaments, they support the plasma membrane, and they also function in muscle contraction. They do some other things, but we're going to save that discussion. Microfilaments.
Oh, cytoskeleton?
Yes. I will save what some of their other. Wow, that's probably hard to read
Yeah,
on top of this.
Hold on.
Wow.
Is the cytoskeleton part of the thing? The EMS?
No. No, we're so far past the EMS because then we did mitochondria and there's no 7
That's
next
what you
to
said
it.
the vacuole
Oh,
was,
no, I see
right?
that. I just can't see what the.
Yeah, but there's no 7 next to cytoskeleton.
Oh my
Yeah, I don't know.
Alright, so this just goes here.
Okay. Shh. So microfilaments support the plasma membrane and function in muscle contraction.
Function and or
Support the plasma membrane and function in muscle contraction.
This is a plant cell.
So they're the ones that enable muscles to contract. This is all done by microfilaments.
Plants have muscles.
Like in birth. Okay, so
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yes.
Out of all the muscle
Every single
contractors,
cell in
that's
the animal body is that?
Looks like this? No, not at all.
Oh.
This is like if you were to take the average animal cell. This is what it would look like. But there is no average animal cell. There are liver cells, there are skin cells, there are neurons, there are pancreatic cells.
So what?
What do you say?
So
Yeah.
is this like a disease? So when you say animal cells, I like the animal cells.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so microfilaments support the plasma membrane, function in muscle contraction. They do some other task, which we will talk about at another time. Okay? All right.
You said a word after, so cytoskeleton, and you said something.
Microfilaments.
Microfilament.
Yep, these are for microfilaments.
How do you
Yeah,
spell
Michelle.
that?
Micro and then Filaments. You'll see it.
On the test.
Well, no, I mean I'm recording this right now, and you'll see it. This slide is right there for why this is being recorded. Michelle. No, that's the plasma membrane. This? Yeah, that's the plasma membrane. The microfilaments are pointing to really small fibers that are right here. The intermediate filaments are pointing right here, and then the microtubules are actually these yellow.
Wait, so that
rays.
definition that we just wrote down goes for cytoskeleton microfilament?
No, it just goes for microfilaments. Supports the plasma membrane, functions in muscle contraction.
So, was also the definition for cytoskeleton?
No, because the cytoskeleton are these three components, and then we're going to go individually. Shh. So what do microfilaments do?
They support the plasma.
Support the plasma membrane, function in muscle contraction. Michelle. This. So this is done by microfilaments.
Only
Alright.
microfilament does?
Yes, correct. Alright, intermediate filaments. Intermediate filaments. Anchor materials to the plasma membrane. Okay, so intermediate filaments, they anchor materials to the plasma membrane. And sometimes they anchor two cells together, but we'll get there as well.
What do you mean by anchor?
Anchor is like it holds it in place. Like an anchor holds a ship in place. This anchor something attaches it to the plasma membrane so that it can't actually come off of the plasma membrane. The intermediate filaments do some other things. Y'all have heard of keratin, right? Keratin is an intermediate filament. So these cells just get packed full of that intermediate filament and it hardens the cell. Tori.
So that was the intermediate filaments or whatever. So that's part of the cytoskeleton?
Yes.
Like as a whole?
Yes, so the cytoskeleton is made up of three different types of fibers. Microfilaments that do what? What do the microfilaments do? Somebody remind me.
They
Support-
support the plasma membrane and function in the muscle contraction.
Okay, good. The cytoskeleton is also made up of intermediate filaments, and what do they do?
Anchor materials to the plasma membrane.
Cool. And lastly, the cytoskeleton is made up of microtubules, and these anchor organelles in place, and provide a roadway. And I'm going to put this in quotations because they're not actually a road, but provide a roadway for vesicles.
Oh, so this is the path.
Yes. You bet. So this is the 5 freeway that would take you to Stadium Way
Gotcha. Actually,
to go and actually get some enjoyment if you eat in the all-you-can-eat pavilion, because then
Okay,
you could at least you can at least get your fill while you watch the Dodgers disappoint.
Have you ever been to that?
Oh.
My gosh.
We
that
go
is-
there. Listen to
It's
this.
not a Dodger game if you're not in right field.
So, I mean, it's an okay place to watch a baseball game. It's a great place to sit if you want to catch a home run. But every year we have an alumni game for Masters, and we go and we sit in the all-you-can-eat pavilion. And this guy holds the record for the most Dodger dogs consumed
Oh my
in a
I-
single
I-
baseball game.
Let me
How
guess,
many Dodgers
17.
Just 12.
Wow.
Okay.
Just
Just
I was like, oh, 4, 5.
If I had half a
I thought you were
But I was
Dodger dogs are like,
Oh, I have a comment.
I was 23 then. Like I can't eat
you're a
that
peak
much.
performance.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you. So we had a big like family reunion for Thanksgiving in North Carolina, and my sister's fiance, he's a big guy, you know, like he can eat a lot. And so I challenged him to an eating contest, and I don't lose. So we each have 2 plates each, a turkey leg each, and 2 pieces of pie, and I schooled him.
Yeah, was it timed or was it just who could eat the most?
It was just who can eat the most.
Period.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad. There's no way I'd let you beat me. All right. So
Like a full appetizer.
you've got these.
He's big. That drink was small.
Okay. All right. Okay. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. The other thing that's on here, the flagellum, which I told you is a structure that you find in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, and it functions to propel the cell. It is also the flagellum. So let me add one more. I'm going to add one more function of microtubules.
Okay.
They power flagella.
Okay, so
I don't
can we
like
get
that
a
word.
Can we get a quick recap on flagella?
Yeah, so I mean it's almost like a whip, but it spins
Oh, it's
and
tail.
it does kind of look like a tail, and it kind of functions like a tail
Oh my god.
in that it propels the cell through 3-dimensional space.
This is more questions for the class. Like,
Okay,
did we watch something freshman year about this?
Oh, yeah.
About like the interspecific thing?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I was wondering if that was the
So I
same, if it was the
remember
same
the
thing,
whole
because I remember
tail
that
thing.
video.
Oh, Issa,
Huh.
man, that was great. Emma,
Why?
That was a Nick move.
Emma.
Wasn't feeling
Nick was there.
It was
Oh yeah, the flagella, just the tail part. Like,
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Any questions about eukaryotic cells, Michelle? Yeah, the intermediate filaments anchor materials to the plasma membrane.
Did we get
Okay.
to the microvilli?
Microvilli, we'll talk about those at another time. Microvilli, they increase the surface area of we'll talk about those next week.
And then,
We'll talk about the centromere. We'll talk the centrosome and centrioles. We'll talk about those when we talk about cell division.
and then what's that like water stuff in the cell that keeps everything in place?
Oh, the cytosol?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something you find in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells.
So that's not part of the cell. So.
No. It has the same root because cyto means cell. So cytosol is cell fluid, cytoskeleton is the cell skeleton, cytostome is cell mouth. Okay.
Break time.
Yep.
go outside.
Back to
Oh
alligator.
god, hell no.
Oh my goodness. Are